and we're begging to get psychiatrists and counselors in coming in, and they don't want to get an appointment. You can't say this, these people are affected and go through this trauma. Well, geez, I'll give you an appointment 2 weeks from Monday. That's like, they need to talk to somebody now, and they need grief counselors, and I think we need to do more, and I don't have the answer in terms of how to come up with the money, but I can tell you what, I would like to sit down with the best people that are in the industry and with our economists and say, okay, what do we have to do? Which I think goes to a lot of what we're talking about. We have to decide once and for all in the state of Nevada what we want to be. I mean, where we want to be in education, where we want to be in healthcare, where we want our infrastructure to be, what all these things that are important to the citizens of the state of Nevada. Then we have to come up with a number. How much are these various things going to cost? What's it going to cost to pay the teachers right? What's it going to cost to get the healthcare? What's it going to cost to improve the infrastructure? Then see what the bottom line is and come up with a way to pay for it. One of the ways that they're going to have to pay for it, and people don't want to hear it, is property taxes. Right now, our property tax caps are choking local governments, and they're choking the state. 2 years ago, in Clark County, our property taxes went up. You're all familiar with the caps of 3 and 8%. And Senator Adler is here, and he was there at the time when we did. Thank you, Senator. Was there at the time when we implemented the caps. 2 years ago, our property tax in Las Vegas and Clark County went up 0.24%. And I can tell you, a local government cannot operate when it goes up 0.24%. It simply is not enough money to keep up with the growth that we're having in Southern Nevada. And last year it went up 1.4, and this year it finally got to the 3% threshold that everybody thought it would be. So I don't think anybody thought at the time when they implemented the caps we were gonna ever go through a recession like we did, but we did go through that recession. And it won't be the last time. We will go through another one at some point, whenever that might be. So if you had a 3% and an 8% and stuck with that and didn't have the alternate formula, that would be one solution. The other thing is, when you have your house in Southern Nevada, I don't know what it is in Northern Nevada, in Southern Nevada, 97% of our properties are in abatement, which means people aren't paying the assessed valuation taxes on their homes, which is fine if you stay in your home. But if you sell your home and you move somewhere else, I feel that that abatement should disappear and the new person should take over at the full assessed valuation. If we did that, it would provide more than enough money to fix a lot of these problems that we're talking about. And I think it's a reasonable alternative. You're not harming the senior citizen who's in a home and doesn't want their taxes to double because it's in such of an abatement, but you're at least doing something to generate the revenue moving forward. So that's one idea, but I'd work with the legislature to come up with a plan.
We hear about this, we talk about a lot, about the gun violence and everything. Right. And I think in the state of Nevada, we do rely a lot on tourism. And, it seems to me we get to a point where even the businesses figure out that dead people are not good for business. So the question that I have is, do you have a clear plan, suggestions of what can be done or what we could do to help to actually get this over the other side instead of just talking about it while we hear of another atrocity somewhere? How do we work together? What do we do on that?
Well, and that's a complicated question, but there's a lot of answers and a lot of information. One, our hotels have really, in Southern Nevada, and I know they're doing the North, really beefed up security. Some of it you see and some of it you don't see. I can tell you that. In Southern Nevada, I can tell you walk on the strip and I don't think there's 3 feet that you're not under surveillance. I mean, whether it's by one of Metro's cameras or one of the hotel cameras, we've really stepped up. We've implemented the shot spotters that are coming in. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that. Where we have, it's a technological advancement that we've got sensors that can immediately detect where a shot was fired from by triangulating the sound waves, which is really important in identifying a situation like this. I was at Flirty today. It's my other button here, and I appreciate this bit. I was at Flirty today and talked to those folks with drones, the drone technology that's here. I can tell you in Southern Nevada, we're already using drones in law enforcement where we didn't use them before. Like, for example, at the 1 October event, we could have set a drone up 32 floors and looked into that room and seen what was there from the outside. It wouldn't matter if you shot down the drone. We could at least get a camera view immediately. So we're doing a lot of those sort of things. But some things that we can do to help make our home property safer, and that's reactive as opposed to being proactive. Other things that we can do, and we're using for the cameras, we have a very sophisticated, that's in a trial run right now, facial recognition software that is put into these cameras, and if they find Barb and she's right here, they can go backwards in the tapes and find out where she has been for the last 4 hours by feeding those visual images in the computer and see, okay, who left that box or who left that bag on the corner down there on Virginia Street, who left that, and they can actually determine, which helps in our investigations. But to be proactive, and I'm a big believer in the Second Amendment. I think everybody should have their rights to have guns, whether it's for hunting, for collecting, for personal use, for self-protection, whatever it might be. But after what I saw on 1 October, you do not need a bump stock, you do not need 50 cartridge expanded cartridges, and you do not need silencers or assault rifles. Those were made for the military. Those were made for SWAT teams. They weren't made for everyday citizens to have on regular use. The reason that Stephen Paddock, as explained to me, had so many rifles up in his room, AR-15s that were in his room, and I'm not a huge gun expert on guns, let's put it that way, but the AR-15, they were firing so many rounds that the barrel was getting so hot that he couldn't keep holding the gun, so they'd throw that one down and pick up another one. Because it was the rounds that were coming through there, when you gotta imagine that 2,000 rounds came out of that room in a matter of a couple minutes, they're firing out of there pretty darn fast. So we need to do more. We need to make sure that after Sandy Hook, it kind of changed my perspective. You know, when I went to school, my mom or dad didn't worry about me coming home because I'd get shot at school. You know, I didn't worry about that. My kids graduated from Durango High School in Las Vegas. I knew they'd go to school, and you know, you're worried about, you know, somebody tripping on the way home or, you know, getting hurt on a playground as a kid, I guess. But you didn't worry about your kids not coming home or having to crawl under a desk and text their parents home that they're under attack. And that's got to change. Now, I don't want to make our schools into fortresses. At the same time, the answer to every one of these gun situations is not, we'll let them put more guns in the school and give them to teachers. That isn't the answer that we need to do. So we need to implement background checks. And why I'm so strong on the background checks is I sit on Fiscal Affairs, which is our oversight committee for the Metropolitan Police Department. And it's really sad state of affairs when we've got, especially in domestic violence cases, where a woman calls for protective order because her husband has beat her, and Metro will come and they'll arrest them and give them a restraining order, and you can't go near that woman can't go within 50 feet, which is worth this piece of paper that is printed on there. And as soon as he goes and gets out of there, they can go on Craigslist and buy a gun, no background check, take it, and 15 minutes later, go back and kill somebody. They deserve to be protected to that extent. That can't be allowed to happen. So that's why I think background checks are so very, very important, which would eliminate anybody that has a mental health issue, criminal record, restraining order, that sort of thing for buying a gun. And we can work with the FBI to implement background checks. I'm confident that we can come up with a compromise so we can facilitate these checks and we'll be able to move forward. Yes, sir.
One idea I had understood that Blackstone did not go forward with background checks that were passed by the state because supposedly the money wasn't for the fund that wasn't there or something. I would be willing, I know many communist gun law supporters would be willing to donate to a fund that could be used to pay. I think you generate hundreds of thousands of dollars, people willing to to donate money to pay for those background checks for everybody else. I certainly would.
You're absolutely right. The background checks, I think it was a convenient excuse to not have to implement background checks, that the FBI wouldn't do them. I really believe that there's a problem, and we all think about what the solution to that problem is. We can come up with something that works. And if it's a matter of getting somebody to subsidize and pay for it, fine, that's great. If it's a matter of having somebody else do the background checks, that's great too. But I need people that want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Because if you're not part of the solution, you become the problem. And that's what we need to stop.
Well, don't you think that the FBI is federal, so yeah, okay, we're not gonna go federally, but we can do what we want statewide, can't we make our own state database?
We absolutely could. We absolutely could do it statewide. I mean, it
Just
would
wondering.
be having to set it up, which is something you could do, but I think it's so important, and it's the will of the people. The same thing is true for those with the marijuana money. And I can tell you, I dealt with a lot of people, and Will is my marijuana expert, he's here someplace. My seniors in Southern Nevada. You know Will? Okay. Yeah. Well, he's in the industry, that's a clarification. I had a lot of senior citizens that would tell me, they said, hey, look, I didn't vote for marijuana because I wanted marijuana. I voted because you said the taxes were gonna go for education.
Yes.
And they didn't go for education.
Right.
They got put in the rainy day fund, which is a bait and switch, and that's not fair. That money needs to be put into education, just like. I-T1 initiative petition 1, which called for an increase in the room tax. It was supposed to go to education. Well, they did. They put it in education with their left hand, and they took it out with their right hand. They didn't give any extra money. It supplanted other money. That needs a change, so we can make those changes if we work together.
Great point.
Can I ask the Laxalt question?
Sure.
He says that everything he's at, we don't wanna be another California. How do you address that? Seems to be their lead thing right now. We
Yeah.
don't wanna be another California.
Yeah, I'm not saying we want to be another California, but I'm saying we want to be a better Nevada, is what I want.
I like that.
Yeah.
We want to be a better Nevada.
Yeah.
We don't have the income tax they have in California, we don't have the regulations that they have in California, but our citizens in Nevada deserve better. They deserve more, and I intend to give them more. I mean, I'm not gonna pass what California did and make it so burdensome, and I don't think we're taking advantage of the businesses that want to come to Nevada because it's so burdensome in California. But I don't want to be California, but I want to be a much better Nevada. Thank you. Yes, sir.
While the Silver State Opportunity Grant Program is nice, unfortunately there are some.
Okay, I can't hear you, so.
Sorry. Okay, so while the Silver State Opportunity Grant Program has helped many people, many students to be able to go back to school, there are some other students that cannot do the 15 credits. We had a bill that actually went to the governor that would have shortened the credit requirement to 12, but unfortunately he vetoed it.
Right.
Would you support actually cutting the requirements to 12 or 9 credits?
I would support cutting a requirement if we could pay for it, but these are things that, I'm not gonna come and say like other people are gonna do, a couple of my opponents, and I'm gonna give you this, and I'm gonna give you that, and I'm gonna give you that, and when you say, how do you pay for it? I'll find the money. I can't in good conscience tell you that, I'll find the money. I don't know, yes, I'm supportive of it, but help me find the money. If we can change the property tax situation, get more revenue in, then what we need to do as a community, as a state, is decide how do we wanna prioritize that money? How do we wanna spend it? Where does it go first? Education is extremely important to me. So that would definitely be on the list. I don't know how far we can get down that list. Okay, yes, sir.
So, now that you're up here, you got an office up here, how are you gonna find out about what the issues are in the rural counties?
Well, the rurals are a lot more difficult, you're right. The rurals are a lot more difficult because there's so many counties we have to get to. We don't have an office. We've got one up here and one in southern Nevada that'll get us through the primary, and then we have to expand that network out, clearly. We haven't spent a lot of time in the rurals. I spent a lot more time in Washoe now. We're continuing to come up to Washoe. And the reason we can't in the rurals, and I'm gonna be very candid in talking to everybody, there aren't a lot of Democrats in the rurals, and the return on investment on my time that the people I can touch in the rurals is nowhere near what it is in either Washoe or Clark County. I'm operating on such a limited amount of time right now. I've got early voting is 2 weeks from tomorrow. I can't spend a day in White Pines or in Lyon to get where I can get to 14 people. That just isn't a good use, but they're important to me, so we're trying to communicate them through media. Yes, sir.
So to follow up, because I'm from Lyon.
And I appreciate it, yeah.
For us to get our base going, we've gotta have candidates. If we don't get the candidates out, we can't get our base expanded. So you created a vicious cycle.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that, and I'll put you with Barb over here to try to get us some information. If we can make one swing through and hit a couple in a weekend, that's something that we can possibly do to make an appearance and have some things set up that we can go through one after another as we move through some of the different rurals. But I am now, and I'll be honest with you, the one thing I don't do anymore is pretty much is sleep. You know, I've got 8 and 10 events a day that I am doing right now. That's in addition to my regular job, which is on the county commission, that I still don't miss any meetings. And I still try to deal with every single item I have there. And I hope that people understand that. As we get past June, we're gonna have a little bit more time in order to spend some time going through the entire rural area and speaking to people, reaching out to voters and touching them and shaking hands and seeing what to connect on the issues that are important to them. But I think that the issues, well, there are issues specific to the rurals, just like there's issues specific to Washoe or specific to Clark County, Las Vegas. everybody, regardless of any corner of the state you live in, you want better education for your kids, you want better quality care for seniors, and you want more jobs for our community. Now, there are additional issues, but those are important to everybody. And I tell you, some of the things that happened in the state, or almost happened in the state, and the last time when I got involved on the last session, when it came down to the end of the last session, and I guess I don't know where, we all draw the line at a different point here, where we just can't take it anymore. When they were gonna cut Meals on Wheels in the state of Nevada, I was ashamed. I was ashamed.
Yes.
I was ashamed to say I'm a Nevadan, and you're gonna take the one time. Oftentimes those seniors, that's the one time a week that they see a human being, is when the person comes and delivers that food to them. And we're thinking about cutting that? I mean, that just goes way too far, and that's where we need to, as a state, as a society, get together and say, hell no, no more, I've had enough, we're gonna fix this. And I think that's where we're at now, at least that's where I'm at. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to mention that when you get to the general, you know, I practice law out in Elko, and I'm a lifelong Democrat. And Obama opened an office there. His two advanced men lived in my basement for a month, and Obama came to Elko twice.
Yeah.
So I would urge you to
Well,
spend time out
definitely-
there. There are progressives
Yeah,
out there.
yeah. We'll definitely, I spent some time in Elko and Great Basin, you know, over the years, but we'll definitely be in Elko. Understand that I do not have the budget that President Obama had to bring these in. He had volunteers. I can tell you, I was up for my commission seat last time, which was relatively unopposed. I didn't have a real serious opponent here. And I was at the Carpenters Union, and I was in awe, where there was maybe 200 carpenters there, members of the union there, and then the buses started pulling in the parking lot. And there had to be 25 buses coming in with walkers on those buses. They got off the bus, they gave them breakfast, they got into a car, gave them the walk sheet, and went on